On April 12, 1988, a night security officer at the Blackwood Archives reported a security breach inside Storage Wing C, a section of the facility that had been sealed for 3 years. The official report describes what happened next as a simple equipment failure. But the recovered footage tells a different story. Inside the sealed storage room, the officer discovered something that should not have been there. A portable CRT television, powered on, connected to a VHS player, playing a tape that nobody had placed inside the machine. The label carried a date that had not happened yet. At the moment the tape was discovered, it was still April 12th. The recording inside the machine was from tomorrow. The security officer never contacted emergency services. According to the recovered audio log, he remained inside Storage Wing C for exactly 6 minutes. Watching the screen, the footage was not a recording of another location. It was a live image of the room he was currently standing inside. It showed him watching himself discover the tape. When the recovery team arrived 4 hours later, the television was still running. The tape was still playing. But the security officer was gone. The recovered object was assigned the designation CT-001B. The Blackwood team began analyzing the tape under controlled conditions. Their first discovery created more questions than answers. The tape was physically deteriorating. The magnetic layer was damaged. The chemicals inside the tape were breaking down. Yet the footage stored on it was impossible. The researchers believed they were studying a recording of the future. They were wrong. At midnight on April 13th, the tape changed. Without anyone touching the machine, without anyone pressing play, it updated itself. The team recorded the first confirmed event of what Project Dial Tone would later classify as manifestation. The tape was not showing what would happen. It was showing what reality was being forced to become. Following the Blackwood Archive incident, the tape was transferred to a secure research facility. The investigation was no longer focused on where the tape came from. The question had changed. What happens when the tape shows something that hasn't happened yet? The team established strict observation protocols. 3 independent cameras recorded the screen. 2 additional systems monitored the researchers. Every movement was documented. Every possible variable was controlled. They weren't searching for a ghost. They weren't searching for time travel. They were searching for a signal. At 8 a.m., the first synchronized playback began. The tape displayed the laboratory, the same walls, the same equipment, the same researchers. But there was one difference. The footage showed Dr. Elias Thorne performing an action he had not yet decided to do. On the screen, Thorne wrote a sequence of 6 numbers. Numbers nobody in the room had seen before. 42 seconds later, Dr. Thorne stood up, walked to the lead investigator attempted to break the sequence. He moved toward Thorne. He tried to remove the chalk from his hand. Bored, picked up the chalk, and wrote the exact same sequence. Later, when questioned about the event, Thorne described the experience with one sentence. It did not feel like a decision. It felt like remembering something that had not happened yet. But reality refused the change. The intervention had already been recorded. The team reached their first undeniable conclusion. The tape wasn't predicting events. It was documenting events before they became real. Then the footage changed again. The laboratory disappeared. The tape showed something that was not visible on any security camera. The figure appeared less than 3 feet behind the research team. But every camera inside the laboratory showed the same thing. Empty space. Whatever was inside the recording, it did not exist in the room. It existed only inside the signal. Then the figure moved. Not toward the researchers. Toward the machine. The team attempted to stop playback. They disconnected power. They removed the equipment. They tried to destroy the machine. Nothing worked. Because the machine was never the source. The researchers realized the truth. The tape did not need electricity. It did not need a player. It only needed a witness. They weren't watching tomorrow. Tomorrow was waiting for them to watch. For years, the Blackwood Archive was believed to be nothing more than a storage facility. a forgotten government building filled with outdated equipment and abandoned research. But recovered documents from 1994 revealed something different. Blackwood was not a storage facility. It was a collection point, a place where unexplained signals were gathered, analyzed, and hidden. Inside the recovered files was a frequency analysis report, a signal pattern that appeared in both incidents. 18.2 Hz. The same frequency detected beneath the forest. The same frequency hidden inside the tape. Two impossible events, separated by hundreds of miles, connected by the same signal. Early investigators believed Project Dial Tone was attempting to communicate with something beyond our world. But later documents suggested a different objective. They were not trying to send a message. They were trying to align reality with a signal. The Tomorrow tape was not considered an accident. It was considered a tool, a way to anchor specific events before they occurred. But the Project Dial Tone files contained one warning. They could synchronize events. They could not control what was being synchronized. We were wrong about the phone. We thought it was a receiver. We thought we were listening to something from somewhere else. The phone was never the receiver. The phone was the lens. The tape. The tape is the film. The recording ended before the researcher could explain what he meant. But the message changed the entire investigation. By mid-1988, the Blackwood team believed they understood the tape. They thought it was a warning system, a way to see disasters before they happened. If the tape showed a failure, they would prevent it. If it showed an accident, they would stop it. But every attempt to change the footage produced the same result. The tape adapted. The more they resisted, the stronger the signal became. On August 1, 1988, researchers performed their final controlled experiment. The tape showed one specific location, a completely empty corner of Laboratory 4. If the tape was only predicting the future, then this experiment would prove it could be wrong. At exactly 3:14 a.m., the safe disappeared. No explosión. No movement. No damage. Reality simply corrected itself. This was the moment Project Dial Tone changed the classification. The Tomorrow tape was not predicting reality. It was defining it. The tape was not showing what would happen. It was showing what had to happen. The forest incident suddenly made sense. The trees were not dying. They were being rewritten. Then researchers discovered something impossible. Near the end of the recording, the tape stopped looking like a damaged VHS. It became clearer, newer, as if the tape was no longer showing the past. It was recording the present. For years, the Bleached Forest Incident was classified as an unexplained biological event. A strange environmental collapse. A place where vegetation lost its color and stopped growing. But the Blackwood Archive files revealed something different. The trees were not dead. They were overwritten. The same carrier frequency existed in both locations. The same impossible signal. The forest was not broadcasting the signal. The forest was receiving it. One name appeared repeatedly throughout the recovered documents. Elias Thorne, a senior analyst assigned to investigate the connection between the Blackwood Archive and the forest anomaly. In his personal notes, Thorne described the phenomenon differently. Not as a haunting, not as a transmission, but as a failure in sequence. One entry contained a warning. We are not looking at a forest. We are looking at a frame of film that has been exposed twice. Thorne was the first person to suggest that Project Dial Tone was not studying the anomaly. They were trying to contain something that was already spreading. The bleached forest was not a separate event. It was the moment the signal reached a critical point. The system could no longer decide what the forest was supposed to become. So reality produced the only solution it had. It removed the error. But there was one detail investigators missed. The same figure seen inside the Tomorrow tape was already present at the forest site. The files never identified what it was. They only recorded one repeated detail. Every time the signal appeared, the figure was already watching. By the final Blackwood incident, the Tomorrow tape was physically destroyed. Over 80% of the magnetic layer had deteriorated. The researchers expected the signal to disappear. They expected the sequence to end. But the footage continued. The machine was no longer reading the tape. Something else was sending it. The final 30 seconds of the Blackwood recording were never officially archived. They were discovered years later inside a sealed case file. The tape was no longer showing 1988. It was showing something impossible. The final image contained a symbol never seen in Project Dial Tone records. Beneath the symbol was one handwritten message. Screen text. The sequence is self-sustaining. After decades of investigation, one conclusion became unavoidable. The Tomorrow tape and the Bleached Forest were connected. Both carried the same signal. Both appeared to follow the same sequence. But one question remains unanswered. Who created the sequence? And if the tape has always been recording, who has been holding the camera?